Okay, so what are we gonna talk about? You're the question asker.
So, what's really been on my mind personally was we talked about the 80-20, and I want to know, um, we talked about how 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And so I got into disc, and I was wondering if people are not thriving in their passion as disc, and if they get locked into, I have to go door knocking, but let's say I'm an I and I'm scared of door knocking and I need people to go with me. Do you think you have like the 80% who of the team members who are not thriving and not go-getters because of their disc profile? They're not adjusting.
Yeah, there is a little bit to that. I mean, I think first explain what the DISC is to make sure everybody, it's a behavioral assessment out there. And then it's one of the most commonly used behavioral assessments. It's very inexpensive. And it basically breaks down profiles into four general categories: the D, the DISC, the driver, and they push hard. They push very hard. They can be a little brash and a little aggressive. Then you got your influencer. They are very social people, extroverts. Both of those two are extroverts.
So they would love door knocking. I would love door knocking.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that though. There's some
Okay.
parts that they hate. Then there's the S, the DI of DISC. Then there's the S, which is the steady, stable, secure, more of an introvert. And then your C, your compliance. This is like your engineer. 2 plus 2 must equal 4. Again, an introvert. And and then there's combinations thereof. There's DIs, DCs, SIs, SCs, and that can, very rarely is someone just one profile. I can tell you right now, a DI is extremely different animal than a DC. So knowing that secondary profile is everything. So, and how high that secondary profile is on the disc chart. You can have a high D, you can have a mid-range D, you can have a D with a medium range I, or a D with a high I. Very different people. So with that being said, yeah, it does. We have a great course on this, by the way.
Mhm.
It's like a shameless plug, but it's our disc course, and then there's a module in there on which types of behavioral profiles are more akin to lead generate for business in different ways, right? Door knocking comes with a heavy degree of rejection. So I have found that the best at that is the D behavior. Typically, most lead generation that comes with rejection, the Ds are okay with. They'll go out there and they'll knock doors. I'll say a conversion rate on door knocking to get either a buyer lead or a seller lead from door knocking is usually somewhere around 30 doors to 1. And to knock 30 doors, that takes some time. That's going to take you a few hours, believe it or not. You talk to people and things like that. So if you can get yourself to, hear a no or a rejection 30 times, Eyes are not that good at that. Even though they're very social people, their biggest fear in life is rejection. They
Mm.
hate to be rejected. So if you put an eye into too much rejection, like expired prospecting, where you get hung up on all day long and screamed at, or FISBO prospecting, I don't think door knocking is that bad. But some of those, I mean, FISBOs, they don't believe realtors are worth anything. They think they can for sale by owner it themselves.
Right.
So, the amount of rejection an eye goes through there is very tough. Now, it's not to say that they can't make themselves do it. Naturally, though, they're going to have, without any type of guidance or accountability or coaching to make them keep staying with it, that eye is going to say, I don't like this. This is not who I am. This isn't me, because they're just getting turned down left and right. Whereas that D profile, they're not going to like it either, don't get me wrong, but they're going to be a little bit, if there's a will, there's a way, and they're going to push their way through it a little bit more naturally than the I typically would. I would say that the most difficult types of phone prospecting for rejection are telephone prospecting. People are much ruder to people on the phone when you call them. So, circle prospecting, expired listings, for sale by owner, that kind of stuff, they tend to really scream at you, then hang up. And that can really drive an eye crazy. The D's, again, can push themselves through it. Door knocking, you can get some doors slammed. You can get some, you know what I mean? You can interrupt people when they're in the middle of things. and they can be pretty rude too, and that can get people to not want to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, so I've door knocked. It's been, it's been decades. My wife has door knocked. It's been some decades too. But when you're starting out and you're trying to generate, business any way you can, it is a great way to get immediate business. You know, the I's and the S's, even though the I is an extrovert and the S is an introvert, they're both people. They want to get people they know. So they tend to gravitate towards sphere of influence marketing. So they're trying to cultivate and grow and develop and love on a group of people they know.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't so much rejection, and they can add value to them and love on them. That's where they gravitate to. It's those S's and those I's. They will go that way. So if you can get them into that space, they're going to be operating in their strengths a lot more naturally. Now there's exceptions to this all over the place. So I got to say that, I could say the I's that way, but if it's a high I with a high D, well, they might go the other way, right? Whereas the DC's, again, the D's an extrovert, the C's typically an introvert. However, they're both not people. They think people get in the way, right? They just stay out of my way. I got to get my work done, right? So they typically would rather work with people they don't know.
Okay.
They want to keep their friends separate, right? So they would like to call for sale by owners, expired prospecting, circle prospecting. That's business, and they don't want to love on their friends in a quote unquote fake way to try to get business out of them. They don't want to quote unquote kiss up to their buddies and mingle friendship in business because it just doesn't feel genuine to them. I know, I've been there. I am a D.
Okay.
And what am I gonna have a bunch of fake friendships for the hope of making money off them? That, a lot of people don't realize that's the perspective. Like, oh, maybe that is, you know what I mean? Where does networking cross over into true friendship? So there is that too, right? Again, that's the wrong perspective and the wrong mindset. It's not the way I truly feel, but I had to get through those demons decades ago when I sold real estate to try to get around that. And then you get the S and the I's who love on their people and want to grow their book of business through people they know. They look over at those D's and C's and say, I don't know why they want to work with people they don't know and get rejected all day and get hung up on all day long. I want my business to come to me. I want to add value to my people, not just bother people all day long. So, both objections are valid. And if you're coaching and training agents, you're going to hear them, so you better be able to work through it. But they're both objections and they're both things that need to be fought through. But that's generally how that starts to operate, right? So if you're working with people you don't know, the D's and the C's tend to grab it. Online leads, purchased social media leads, purchased, Google leads, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The D's and the C's, because you don't know those people. But again, if you're working on social media with people you already know, now the I's and the S's. Okay, so this is organic social media marketing. The I's and the S's, now they're like, okay, I can put myself out there. I can be vulnerable, no problem. But those D's and C's, man, those introverts and those drivers, they don't want to look stupid out there always marketing on social media. And the C's just think, that they're going to get their friggin' bank accounts hacked, so they don't want to be vulnerable out there for the same reason. They're just not that type of person. They want to keep that private. Naturally speaking, not to say everybody can't make themselves do these things. And the D behavior is the one that is the most inclined to just make themselves do it. Square peg, circle hole.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it. I'll absolutely do it. So they just, and they do until they find a better way, that type of thing. So
that you're giving different options for different personality types, because I think that's why people get paralyzed in that 80% of not doing anything, is because they're scared that they can only do what's been done, the A, B, and C's. Like they have to do the door knocking, they have to do the cold calls, and that's not the case. There's options for them.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, being able to find the best fit, the custom fit. I mean, that's what a good coach and a good leader, maybe a leader of a real estate team or a real estate coach, or a broker owner, they try to find that next fit to keep people operating in their strengths. They have a better odds of succeeding if you have them in their strengths. So that is true. There's a flip side to every coin though. I mean, then,
Right.
because And the unfortunate thing in real estate is they're independent contractors. They don't work for you. So if they were your W-2 employee, it's different. Then you're going to tell them what to do, and they're just going to do it for fear of being fired.
Mm-hmm.
The minute they're on their own and they're running their own business as a sole proprietor, at least, they don't have to listen to you anymore. So they will get in their own head, and then you've got the mayor of Crazy Town running the town, and all of a sudden they're going to start saying, "Huh, well, there is that other thing I could do. Maybe that's a better fit for me. I'll try that. This is no fun." And then they'll try that for a while, and they'll say, "Oh, well, maybe I should go door knock. That sounds fun. It'd be nice to get outside. It's springtime or whatever. I'll go outside. That's no fun. That's a waste of time. So maybe I should." And they just keep jumping and jumping and jumping. Grass is always greener because there's all these different ways to do it. And that becomes their new excuses. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. And they never really give anything a long enough sample period to get some success, because real estate is very, very high probability of failure, and because of an extremely low conversion rate. I mean, if you're calling online leads from people you don't know, let's say you get a bunch of pay-per-click leads, I mean, you're looking at a 1% conversion rate on average for that. That means you got to talk to 100 people, you got to speak to 100 people. 99 of them are going to be "no, I hate yous, never call me again," and then you're going to have one success. And it's not unnormal to go 300, 400 of those before you get that first one. So a lot of people can't go that far. Most don't. I would say 80% of agents don't go that far to get their first bit of success. And then you got to have the accountability to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. What we try to teach is a kind of a combination of the two to newer agents, right? And we try to coach our leaders of our real estate teams and brokerages. When you have a new licensee, they usually want business right now. They want income right now. And so the problem is, when you build up your sphere of influence, which should be the foundation of your business, oftentimes, you know all these people and they know you're brand new, so they're not using you yet, right? So you got to build them up and let them know you're in real estate, and that takes some time to marinate on them and love on them and stay in front. They got to see you for a little bit. So we want you to always be doing that right off the bat, because that should be the foundation of everybody's business, is building a big sphere of influence. So we do push that, but at the same time, we need income now, right? So we're always trying to get our people to train agents to also do some lead generation from sources they don't know at the same time. So they could be doing any of these things we've talked about to generate business right now, because those are active leads right now. We're looking, an expired listing is someone who needs to list their house and sell it. A FSBO is somebody already got their house up for sale, right? Circle prospecting, we're looking for the same. Door knocking, all of that, we're trying to find active leads right now. We're working your sphere of influence is kind of waiting, it's staying first of mind, so you become the agent of choice, with the hopes that someday when they do want to buy or sell, they use you. So it's not so immediate. So we're really trying to kind of push those two balls forward. So to answer your question, Christina, yeah, with the SOI, everybody should be doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's a steady business, a book of business. That business will come to you. Okay, so everybody needs to be doing that. I don't care if you're a D or a C and you don't like to work with your friends, like I was 30 some years ago. You got to do that. Okay, so that's your foundation. However, if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of business coming from your sphere of influence, then you need to go for the business right now, which means you're going to have to put your head in a little bit of a wood chipper and battle a very low conversion rate, and get through a bunch of no's to get to that yes. And it's going to be harder for some than others there. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Do you think most brokers or team leaders are Ds?
I think a high percentage of them are, yes, which means they need the most help on leadership. Ds are very good at just saying that there's a will, there's a way, I'm going to grow a team, but they're real bad on leadership. They're not the best leaders. They're polarizing. They don't set up systems. They don't have patience. Okay. And so they typically need leadership coaching the most. That's why if you look at the real successful teams, right, oftentimes those aren't run by Ds. They're the random S behavior, the steady person. Rick Fuller, there's one right there. I mean, there's tons of them. The ones that break through, they're the ones that actually have the patience to put systems in place, and they're patient with their people. They don't run their people off.
Right.
D's will, man. I mean, they will. Without leadership coaching and training, D's definitely are the majority, and I would say I's are second. I's are second. I's same problem though. They're disorganized. They're horrible with systems. They want systems. They just don't like setting them up. And so they tend to jump around a lot, different systems, different CRMs. D's do the same thing. They just don't have that patience. So often, I would say, 80% to 90% of teams start out with someone with one of those two profiles and they go to a certain level. But the percentage that makes it past that, it weans down to get the big teams that are selling hundreds and hundreds of houses a year. That patience is what just gets in the way. So leadership coaching is not something that D's and I's are often up to. They want, hey, I want to coach on, they already know what they want to be coached on. They usually want more leads. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But the problem is they don't have systems to handle them. They don't have systems to recruit. They don't have systems to train and onboard their people. So they tend to get stuck, in my opinion, between 100 to 200 units a year. They get stuck in what I call small team mode. And they really never get a break on time. They may make a little bit more money than they would as a solo agent, but they're going to be working just as much because you have all kinds, you're caught in that witching hour of real estate team growth between 100 to 200 units. That's where you get stuck there. Very few teams break through that without some sort of leadership coaching because we got to put systems in place at that point. You can get up to that place without many systems or weak systems, but to leverage yourself and get out of the way, pretty tough at that point.
That's interesting. I thought like D's would totally be the leaders. So I learned.
Well, they think they are, boy. And I'm one. I mean,
Yeah.
I can talk negatively about D's because I am a very high D, right? But I'm also smart enough to get out of the way and let other people lead my companies because I'm not a good operator. I'm not a good leader. I'm a good starter. But if we want it to keep running smooth, I'm the last guy you want. That's for darn sure.
That blows my mind.
It will break down. I will break something. Yeah. Yeah. Self-awareness is really important in leadership. I'll tell you that right now. And I've learned that didn't come naturally, So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. A lot of leadership coaching is just is learning to get out of the way, you know what I mean? And let someone do something better than you are, humbling yourself and not being so arrogant to think you're always the best. You don't have to be the king of the jungle,
Right.
but you do need to get the king of the jungle working for you.